right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 32 of the Content Lab podcast. Today, we're joined by Nicky Rizzles.
What's up? What's up? How we doing, baby?
Nick is a photographer, cinematographer, and also he has his own podcast. It's called Rizzology. If you haven't checked it out, 100% recommend it. He has some of my favorite bodybuilders, even, some other content creators, personalities in the fitness world. So it's pretty cool. And hey, Nicky, thank you so much for being
I
here, man.
I appreciate you asking me to come on. It's always an honor when somebody asks me to come onto their platform and talk about things. It's a very cool time we're living in where we can do our own show like this, where years prior, that something like this would take so much production to just get on the books and to do. And
Yep.
I'm sitting in my living room. I wish I was sitting in my studio because you got the cool lights and you got the microphone. But everything is so easily accessible to get like a micro episodes out like this, and it's just a cool time to be doing these things. So I appreciate you, and then when you come to New York, or if I bring my setup with me, we'll rip a cast on my
Absolutely,
platform
dude.
as well.
Would love to. Yeah, it's true. It's like super easy now to build a podcast. Like you can get it started in literally one day.
Yeah,
So it's pretty cool. You get to connect with people from all over the world that
and
easily.
that's the coolest part. That's where I love doing this. I
Yeah.
love the ability to just talk to individuals about their background, their story, some of the things that they go through, work-life balances, because God knows we all need that. And in the last couple of weeks to months, I've really honed in on what I want to consider my work-life balance. And
Absolutely.
we could talk about that stuff as well. And
Yeah.
I just I think that that's so important for people in our field because we are just constantly from good clients, bad clients, we all types of interactions. I feel like we're just always worked to the max, especially on trips. And we're
Mm.
just squeezed out of every last bit of creative juice that we have. That when you get home, like you said, you've been traveling a bunch, a little sick,
Yeah.
tired, take some time to recover, man. But you got to keep the turnaround times going. That work life balance suffers. So, there's huge topics for me, especially small business, entrepreneur, creative type stuff.
Absolutely. And I've heard you talk about that on your pod. And I think that's something important we should touch on at some point in this podcast. Just the way that I saw one clip that we were talking about the moment you realize, like, I'm not going to do something. I'm not gonna set myself for the minimum requirement of whatever the client wants to pay me. I'm gonna put myself out there and I'm gonna set my standard. I know I'm worth this, and either you want to pay it or not. And I think that mini clip was like, okay, cool. It will be awesome if Nikki at some point in the pod can talk about that. But before we get into more of the entrepreneurship and content creation, give me a second.
Yeah, man, take a gulp of that water. Let's
Oh
go.
gosh.
You just clear it out. You
Yeah.
good? You good?
If you're listening, I'm sorry. I've been sick for like a week since I got back from Vermont, so that's why. But yeah, before we get into the entrepreneurship part, let's talk about Nick Rizzo. That's your name. It's not Nick
Yes,
Rizzles.
it's not Nicky. I've had companies that have sent plane tickets as Nicky Rizzles, and I
Yeah,
look at it and I go, "Oh man, I got to change that at the desk."
yeah.
Um,
So Nick Rizzo. Let's talk about Nick. Well, talk about you and just tell me about your life growing up until the moment that you found photography and videography, which it was in 2017, if I'm correct.
yeah, very correct on that. It was the mid 2000s to 2017 that I really started to do stuff like that. I don't know. You know what? Prior to that, I grew up on Long Island, born and raised. I've bounced around a little bit. Single mother since I was two. I have a good relationship with my father, so it's nothing like I don't speak to my dad, anything like that. So splitting time between the two households. My mother's last name is Rizzo. My father's last name is Puglia, and a lot of people don't know that. So if you see my whole name is like super Italian. It's Nicholas Salvatore Anthony Rizzo Puglia. It's crazy. It's like it's almost too long. Um, but being with my mother and my grandfather, my mother's father, for the majority of my life, it was nothing against my father. I know that's kind of like a slap to a dad's face to not take his full last name on everything that you do, but I was just always closer to my mom's side of the family. I didn't get along with my dad's side of the family. There was always a lot of friction. It just wasn't a good place to be mentally and physically. So for me, I just always really, my grandfather was a amazing, blessed soul. He's such a good individual, old school Italian, treating respect to everybody, just being an upstanding guy and just always fun and smiling to be around. So I try to emanate that type of an energy with everybody and everything that I'm around. So growing up with my grandfather, mainly, growing up with my grandfather, mainly teaching me how to grow up is what I was trying to say. My mother, single mother since I was 2, like I said, she was working her ass off. Entrepreneur herself. She owns her own mortgage company. She's not affiliated through banks. She gets all of her business based on referral, but she also funds Hollywood films now. So she finds funding for
Oh wow,
the
that's cool.
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So Kenji, dog's scratching around. He's jumping around inside. So growing up with her, that kind of instilled that hustle value in me. It taught me that, it's cool to go work and do things if it's going to work out. And if you really want to climb that corporate ladder and work at different companies, you can. But at the end of the day, you're building someone else's vision. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because entrepreneurship and working for yourself, and this is way before even I touched photography, but this is just something she instilled in me. Entrepreneurship and being a business owner is a very different life path that not a lot of people can do. And it's okay.
Absolutely.
And there's no problem if you can't do that. It's stressful. It's tiring. It's like you're just constantly thinking about a million and one things that you have to do or get done.
100%. Some people
want
just
to.
don't. Some people just don't want to do that. Some people just want to clock in, clock out, go home, and do their.
And
thing.
that's fine. And you can make
fine.
great money being a phenomenal associate for a company. You could make a huge impact in your community, in the world, in that sector that you're working in, being an outstanding employee. And there's nothing wrong with that. The Gary Vaynerchuks, all these guys that came along in that boom, probably 5 to 10 years ago, that were preaching about entrepreneurship and this and that and working for yourself. I feel like that just kind of sparked a bunch of people to go, well, screw the establishment, fuck it, I'm just gonna go work for myself. And then after a first failure, instead of like learning from that failure, they go, oh, I'm defeated now, I can't even work for myself. It's crazy. So if there's anything from that little if there's anything from that little micro thing that anybody can get, it's that you can make impacts and either work for yourself, work for others, and just be a good human and provide value yourself and others. So anyway, so my mom taught me all of that. It was always a business lesson with mom, networking, just keeping in touch with clients and people that you meet, and just expanding your reach and meeting and learning with new people. Because the world's a cultural melting pot, and I love learning from every different type of culture. I love learning from Spanish, Black, white, Asian. It don't matter. Everyone's got something cool that their culture has brought to them all down the lineage that you can learn from them.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
So I've always had friends from all over the world, and that's been something that I'm very fortunate and blessed for, because there's a lot of people that don't think outside that mental bubble, and they never get those experiences, and they stay kind of stuck in their own shell. So growing up, I had a lot of friends from all over the place. I moved 3 or 4 times. And then from the age of, oh God, I want to say from the age of like 10 till I was like 16 and a half, 17, I was grossly overweight. I was 270 pounds. I was pre-diabetic. And yeah, the doctor basically said, if you don't lose any weight, you're going to be taking an insulin pump soon, when I was 16. So that was a combination of just stress from a split household family, going to spend time with my dad, the interactions that my mom and my father had with one another. It was very tough as a younger child. Looking back on it, it's what shaped me and gave me a lot of experience for today. But it just, you stress eat. You're laying around, you're not doing things. You don't have anybody guiding you to physical activity, healthy eating. My mom was always trying healthy eating and stuff like that. It just never like stuck with me. So after that, that was like a mental awakening. That was the 1.0 version of Nick kind of dying off and going, okay, we need to change some things. So in one summer, I dropped from 270 down to about 190.
Oh, wow. 80 pounds in one summer.
Yo, man, I felt amazing.
How old were you when that happened?
I was like 16 and a half, 17. And I'll tell you why that happened. The reason it happened.
Oh, there was a girl.
No, not yet. Not yet. What happened was I had to go to summer school for gym. Okay. I know. Everybody judging. Summer school for gym. I just didn't go. I was cutting class too much. And they basically just said, yeah, you have to go to summer school. So I had to go for 2 periods. So it was like 2 4-hour sessions. It was full day
Yeah.
of summer school gym. So during that summer, I wound up just walking the track in the sweltering heat, doing cardio, playing handball. And without even understanding or knowing how to diet, I wound up doing like a ketogenic diet. So I wound up just going to the deli, getting turkey and Swiss cheese and just doing roll ups,
Yeah.
rolling it up and just eating it. No carbs. I felt great. And the fat was just melting off of me.
That's
So, um,
And also that's like prime age to just burn fat. Like whenever you're 16, like your metabolism is just freaking going hard.
yeah, you know what? It was after that. It wasn't before that. It was weighed down with all the hot pockets. But it was a very interesting pivot point in my life because now I became obsessed with fitness.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
felt good, I looked good, and it just things were just kind of functioning on all firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. You know what I've realized? Sorry to interrupt
No,
you. I
no,
feel
not
like
interrupting at all. You're good.
because I was never like an overweight kid, but I always struggled a little bit with weight growing up. And I had a lot of friends, like some of my closest friends, same thing. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why we got into fitness so hard is because we were trying to understand our body better, what to do to like, hey, look better because we grew up kind of just like not being happy with the way we looked. And all my friends that I can think of in high school that were a little bit overweight are now very much into fitness and the
Yeah,
whole, like eating clean stuff like that. And a lot of my friends that were completely the opposite, just kind of like those like kids that were, gifted with an awesome physique,
yeah.
growing up. Now they're kind of like, they're not in the best shape. And it just kind of like, I can tell that just by being overweight, it kind of like, it put our mentality into, okay, we need to make some changes. And we found fitness. And I see that happening often actually.
Complacency. That's what it winds up being for the people that were in shape when we were younger.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Complacency. They
Yeah.
were cool with it. They were like,
Yep.
whatever. Like
Yep.
I got abs at 16 years old, and I look shredded, and my arms look good, and I could eat whatever I want. And we kind of experience the other end of the spectrum where we know what that feels like. We know what that overweight look feels like, and we know how it not only brings you down mentally, physically, but like just emotional. Like
Yeah.
it's
Especially
crazy.
especially in high school, right? Middle school,
Oh
high
yeah,
school.
tons of fat jokes all the way up till I lost all the weight, man. When I lost all the weight and I came back, I was shit talking. I was really in my bag. I was shit talking. I was like, yo, I remember you were making fun of me. I remember you were making fun of me. Let's get it going. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? Like, it's almost like a chip was on my shoulder because all this stuff that like I carried around, that baggage, was finally freed up, and I'm like, all right, so you had things
Yeah.
to say. You had things to say. What are we doing?
Dude, I've seen some photos of you. You were posting some like transformation photos. I think it was
Oh,
yesterday.
yeah.
Dude, like jacked, six pack,
Yeah. Yeah, so that was how many years after high school was that? So now high school, I lose all that weight. Senior year, I get into a relationship with a girl. Here's the girl part that I told you was coming up. I get in a relationship with this girl. We're together for about 3.5, 4 years, and we both decide now. During that tenure, I was still working out, but I wasn't working out as hard. You start getting a little relaxed. It's
Yeah.
your first girlfriend, so it's like, oh no, I don't want to go to the gym. I want to spoon and cuddle. It's like, okay, bro. But now you understand. You like got your priorities. Like, no, I got to go to the gym. I got to get shit done.
Yeah.
So, over the course of those 3.5, 4 years, I went back up to 240. Now it wasn't as sloppy as the 270, but it wasn't great. So I had just joined. I don't know if you know Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym.
I think
It's called the East Coast Mecca. A lot of pro
okay, yeah.
bodybuilders from the East Coast go here. Steve Weinberger, shouts to Steve Weinberger. He's the head judge for the IFBB. He owns the gym.
Okay.
And his wife, Bev, or his ex-wife, Bev, they were literally icons in the fitness industry for bodybuilding. I mean, Bev Francis, if you
Is
look up
that is that
Bev,
where Lucky works out?
who is it?
Lucky Libra?
No, yeah. So Dre goes to
Right.
Profit a lot, but he does
Okay.
go to Bev's. Every bodybuilder, when they come through New York, everybody, The Rock comes through. I mean,
Oh wow.
everybody comes through Bev's. It's an establishment in Syosset on Long Island. It's just an unbelievable gym. I had just joined there in like 20. This is in 2011. So I joined there in 2011. Was doing a little bit of weight training. Didn't really understand. I really wasn't on my diet game. So I thought because I lost the weight one time, I could do it again, this and that, but you start climbing back up.
Mm.
So I was training heavy, doing my thing, and we both decide that we're going to go to different schools. She didn't want to go to the school that I wanted to go to, and she originally was going to stay on Long Island. So cool, whatever. She winds up going all the way upstate New York, and I wound up going to Connecticut, right by Montanari Bros Super Gym, which is another powerhouse gym in Connecticut, in New Haven. So we broke up within a month. Like it was just it was tragic. It
Yeah.
was horrific. It was my heart was ripped out, and I didn't know what to do with myself. To be honest
You
with
were
you,
what, 21 at that point?
I was 20. Yep, just turned 21. So I was
Gotcha.
21. You know, this is a girl that I thought I was going to marry at the time. You're like, first love. Oh my god, what's going on? Like I have no idea. You're thinking about her away at school and all the dudes and hitting on her. I'm like, oh god, this is crazy. So I remember she didn't want me to compete. She had said that once before. She had said, I don't take this the wrong way, but I don't want you to compete because I don't want girls looking at you that way.
Gosh.
First relationship, like,
Yeah.
that was a red flag right there.
Yeah. Red flag.
Almost 3.0 Nick would have gotten rid of that instantly, but you know, this is young Nick. So I said, oh no, I'll never compete. Don't worry, this and that. So I'm sitting here at a heavier weight again, and I'm just in my dorm room crying, upset, trying to figure out my life was just basically turned upside down. Why don't you lean back into fitness? It saved you once before. Let's do it again, and let's compete. So this was in December of 2012, and then I competed a little under a year later.
How old are you right now? Are you 20, 29,
I was
30?
20. I'm going to be 32 in August.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm 31 right now. So this was literally 10 years ago. So I did a show in October of 2013, and I dropped from 240 to 150 on stage.
Wow.
Yeah, away at school,
Wild.
no alcohol, no party, no girls, nothing. I was so dedicated to what I had to do that my laser focused. All I wanted to do was step on stage, just prove everybody wrong that
Yeah.
and listen, it's almost like sometimes we make up these haters in our mind. Did I think that a lot of people didn't think I could do it? No, but you almost have to talk yourself into that mode to bring yourself to that next level. Like everyone's doubting you. And it's like, nah, no one's doubting you, but I get what you mean.
Yeah. I bet that like just that mindset of like, oh, I can definitely do that. Like it probably helped you like now fast forward to, whenever you started your business in 2017, like you probably had the same mindset. Like, like I'm just starting this photography, I'm a new filmmaker in the industry, right? Like, oh, I already did what I wanted to do when I had a challenge already, like, and that probably also like transfer into your mindset of like, okay, I'm new at this thing. I'm gonna get really good at it, and I'm gonna prove people wrong that are telling me like, why are you starting to do this full time, right? Like, it's such a tough business. Like, oh, do you take photos? Is that what you do? I hate when people tell me that. Like, what do you do for work? I'm like, like nowadays I just say I try to be very like specific, short, and like kind of just put it like, oh, I do video production. I'm a filmmaker. So I'm like that, so people don't ask too many questions. But if I say, I do media, I take photos, and they're like, is
Like
that your
weddings, like
full,
weddings.
yeah, and is that your full-time job? Can you make money out of that? I'm like, oh gosh, here it comes.
What we do is very tough, and I've talked to a lot of creators about this. It's a very highly competitive field. The barrier to entry is extremely low. All somebody has to do is buy a decent camera and a lens and figure some things out. And there's a lot more toe stepping in this industry
Yeah,
than I
that's true.
care to admit. And
And without even realizing it sometimes.
yeah, I try to go into client interactions and events where there's a lot of people covering the same thing. I try to go into it super neutral. I'm not here to showboat. I'm not here to step on anyone's toes. I'm here to, if my job is X, I'm here to do X. That's
Mm.
all I'm here to do. I'm not here to make anybody, like some dudes will come in, they'll be like, oh, you're shooting for him, but like, I guess I'll get some clips of him and I'll make like a little reel. It's like, what, you think automatically you're just going to take my job? Come on, bro. Like, dude, There is
That
more than
happens.
enough work for everybody. And that's one of the things that I think creatives don't understand is that there is billions of clients to get in millions and millions of areas unknown and untouched. And
We
every
deal with that a lot in the fitness industry, specifically,
yeah,
more than anything else. People just try to get like different clients that they're not working with.
yeah. And it's a very, I don't know, it's a very weird thing. I think you have to I think you have to check your ego. Everybody needs to check their ego at the door because we all have our own style. We all have our own way of going about things, unless you're just like jacking somebody else's shit, which happens all the time. Like there are people that shoot a specific way that if I look at five, six, seven other people that are copying that, they all look the same. You can't differentiate from any of it. And my biggest advice to a lot of people that are in this field that I talk to is don't look like everybody else. Embrace the fact that you look different.
Yeah.
Embrace the fact that you don't just slap a LUT on shit and it's like a dark and moody tone. It's like, come on,
And
guys.
that's what makes people hire you too. Like whenever you're
Yeah.
unique, whenever you're different, people hire you because of that specific look. um I mean that's something that I really try to focus on, just kind of like try to, obviously we all get inspired by other people, like certain, like, creators or whatever, the way they color stuff or whatever, but having your own style that people are like, oh, they see it and they're like, that's Nick Rizzles, that's what's gonna make you, like just one step above and get, more clients at the long run.
And we're all students. We're all students at a
For
consistent
sure.
level. I'm at the ground floor still.
Yeah.
People look at me and they think that I'm doing some amazing shit. I'm like, I appreciate it. It's very hard for me to sometimes like I really like but I look at my work and I know you could probably attest to it. I look at my work and I'm like, I could have done XYZ a little bit better. I gotta learn from that, or I really got to take that coloring course because that clip it didn't match with the rest of them. And every time I watch that reel go through, oh, that one clip sticks out to me and it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
And it's just we could be so critical of ourselves, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. But being a student is huge. Never letting your
For sure.
ego get above you, this and that. Like there are too many people that just, and this isn't to be judgmental of others, because I think, like you said, like you had said to me yesterday when I was doing a little bio, you gotta be happy of your accomplishments without question. I agree with that wholeheartedly. There's a difference between showing what you've done and who you've done it with, and then holding this person up or these people up that you've worked with, and like using that as the facade that you are. It's like, I work with these people. It's amazing, isn't that? It's like, that could change in a week, bro. They can work with somebody else going forward. You have to build yourself up. Don't ride the coattails of somebody that's not even, they're not even your industry. They're just talent or somebody that you work with. You have to build yourself up and showcase why you're amazing and keep building on that skill set.
For
Because
sure.
otherwise, it's like, let's say you are the videographer for Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo is working with you for 10 years. You think Joe Schmo is going to be dedicated to you for life. Joe Schmo is the fame of The Rock, right? He's huge, and you get so much notoriety being around him. But Joe Schmo just found somebody new.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? The whole world's going to collapse? No, bro. On to the next one.
Absolutely.
These are friendships and clients, but you have to remember you're there for a job. And the
Mm.
second that job doesn't get done, or the job needs to be done differently, whatever it might be, you may be
Yeah.
replaced. So you got to build
Absolutely.
yourself up, your image.
Yeah. Dude, but I feel the whole, like, people telling you like, oh, you're crushing it, like you're doing this awesome stuff, and then you just think like, dude, there's still so much to learn. And that's also a cool thing about like what we do. Like there's so much more that we can learn. There's never like a point that you're gonna be like, oh, I'm completely good enough, right? And that's another one of the reasons that when I travel a lot, I just feel like I'm not improving, because it's almost like you're in this, like, just every day just working on that like same project. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
you are improving in different ways, but you're never
No,
like, when
say it. You're
you
100%
know
right. Say it.
you know what I mean, like you, like when
Yeah.
you go for a job for like a week and you're constantly doing the same thing, and then you go back in town and then you have to go back out. It's like you never work on your creativity, you never work on just like working on yourself. You are pretty much just looking, like just working on that project And then when I travel a lot, I get back home and I'm like, I just feel like I don't have any sort of like creativity, and that whatever
Well,
I just
you're
did,
burnt out. You're
yeah,
burnt out.
it can be some sort of burned out, but I don't even know, like it's just a weird feeling. It's like, oh, I just did all that work and I never felt like that I was fully creative. I was just following whatever the client needed me to do, but I never, you know, like actually felt like, oh, I'm doing this in such a passionate and creative way. That's why sometimes when I have like a free week, I just do stuff that are not paid. I just go, I don't know, go to the beach and take some photos
Mhm.
and just kind of like just do stuff that I would love to do, just being passionate about it. And that just kind of gives me like a creative reset, right? It's just kind of like yeah, man, it's tough, but hey, it's a cool thing about, if you have that mentality of like that you like challenges, that I mean, what's a better challenge that just doing what we do, like filmmaking, photography? Like we can always get better. There's always going to be somebody better than you. There's always going to
Oh,
be thousands of people that can do exactly what you do, right?
yeah.
So
And it comes down to, and I want to touch on what you were just talking about as well. It comes down to networking. It comes down to
100%, yeah.
relationships. Me and, like you said, 500 other people could do the same exact job.
Yep.
And let's say we all do it the same exact way, but I have a better relationship with the people that are running the event, or I have a better relationship because they know Nick's got a podcast. Nick has a little bit better reach in certain areas. Nick's authentic. He's not a bullshitter. He doesn't switch product to product every day. Like one day he's on this, now the next day he's on this. They know that I'm going to be authentic and I'm going to be real with everything that I promote and that I talk about.
That's everything, dude. Connections, networking. I mean, that's we talk about in this pod all the time. It's like people. I mean, people ask me all the time, "How do you?" Sorry, my dog is barking.
Nah, you're good. My guy
How?
was just looking out the window.
Yeah, he's like, "How do you get to work with these people? How do you do this?" Like, dude, like you're crushing it. In reality, like my work might be, might be up to standard to work with them, but the only reason why I've gotten jobs with a certain amount of people is just networking, connections, just uh them feeling that good energy of like, oh, working with this dude, it's good. Like, I feel good working with him, and he just like he does what he has to do. He meets the deadlines. Like, let's bring him back, and I think that's super important. I've seen some people that they just do the minimum requirement for jobs. Like they get hired and they're like, oh, submit 5 photos every blah blah. And then they're like, I'm just gonna do these 5 photos, when in reality you can, over deliver a little bit and be like, hey, no, yeah, you're fine. Like, it's all good. Like, it only took another 5 minutes of my time. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you're building that relationship, that connection that they know you can go, that you are willing to go above and beyond to make them happy, make them a happy client.
Yeah. Well, when I see the Buttery Bros, I switch over to the comments. So I saw the Buttery Bros are commenting up there. Yeah, the boys. I was so grateful that I got to sit down with them and do like a very quick mini episode when we were over in Columbus. We talked a lot about vibes. The vibes got to be immaculate. Podcast, work, social, intimacy, whatever it might be, the vibes have to be immaculate. I go based on that. If the vibes are off, I'm out. It don't matter how big the client is. It don't matter how awesome the podcast guest could be. If the vibes are off, I'm out. I just can't do it. And that's another thing that, when we go to these events, how many people do you see that the vibes are off?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you just see the vibes are off. They're either not into it or they're irritated or whatever, this and that. It's like, dude, you got to be happy. You could be stuck in a cubicle, okay? 9 to 5, sitting there punching a clock and sitting there with your eyes bleeding by the end of the day because you're just looking at Excel spreadsheets. We are so blessed and fortunate to be able to just travel around the world, have the companies pay and send us to these amazing locations and capture beautiful areas with amazing athletes. Well, you have to be grateful, you have to be fortunate, and you have to bring that energy up. I did a Tony Robbins seminar last month.
Nice.
It was awesome. It really was. It was awesome. I think a lot of the stuff is a little salesy. Being I was in sales years and years ago, I can see stuff like that and how they keep roping people back in and reeling them in. It's like, that's cool. That's part of your
Yeah,
business. I totally get
yeah,
it.
it's perfect.
But one of the things that he says is you have to keep that energy and that state super high. Now, when I do a podcast like something like this, nerves are bound. You get a little jittery before the podcast, you get a little nervous, whatever. One of the things I learned from Bedros Keuilian, which is a Tony Robbins thing as well. Bedros, I love. I've been following a lot of his work lately. Super awesome individual to listen to for motivation. But one of the things is he jumps around and raises that state, that energy, gets to a peak energy state, says over and over again, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the man. There's going to be an amazing episode. We're going to have so much fun, great dialogue. And you're manifesting, but also internalizing everything that you want to get out of this experience. And that in turn happens then. It's weird because if you just go into things with just that low frequency, low energy, this and that, you're going to get exactly that.
You're going to get that. Yeah. Dude, I love that.
Yeah. It's been cool.
Yeah. He's a very spiritual dude as well, right, Tony?
Tony's a very spiritual dude, man. Listen, I've been retranscribing the notes. So I keep this bullet journal, send the check. I'm not affiliated, but I'll take a check. Bullet journal. I don't do it like all the influencers on TikTok where they make these crazy designs and shit like that. I kind of just use it to map out my intentions, things that I have to get done, just notes from webinars, because I'm taking a lot of webinars now and going to events. Things that I want to do, reading lists. I mean, I have my reading list on here now with some of the books that I want to start diving into. But the Tony Robbins notes, I mean, I would be lying if I said that I didn't get anything out of the course. I mean, these are just some of the pages of some of the notes that I've transcribed over. I mean, it just keeps going and going. And I have to finish over here. But this is probably about 15 pages worth of notes so far.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he talks about, which I think is huge for our field of entrepreneurship and creative work, is he takes at least a minimum of 2 learning experiences a year. And it's not just I'll sign up for it later, or I'll go when it gets closer to the date. You have to set that date, because if you don't set that date, you're not going to actually follow through and do it. So I've been looking at a lot of coloring courses. I've been looking at some even things that I don't even need to know about, like lens repairs and stuff like that. I use some cinema lenses for some of the stuff when I have time to actually be creative, which is what I wanted to go back and talk to you about. But actually progressing yourself is so vital to a happy mind and the ability to not only learn more, but to push yourself even further in the developmental process of your career, figuring out who you are, what you like and don't like doing. Because as we get larger and we take on larger projects, we can't handle it all at some point. And I'm sure you've had that point where you're working on projects and you're just like, oh man, it would be great to have somebody else on this with me. Or it'd be great to have an extra pair of hands on this project, or an editor that can turn some things around while I'm out here shooting still. There's a lot of things that we have to learn to be able to do as we continually grow. And the second that you start hitting those ceilings and you're not allowing yourself to grow anymore, you're just going to keep hitting it, and you're just going to be upset that you're not advancing anymore. So now, after all that,
love that.
If you'll allow me to go back for a second. So you had said that you feel like you're not able to be creative on projects.
Yep.
So
again, depends the project, but most of the time I feel that way.
Yeah. So some of them, which I can't say, I'm not going to say all of them. It's the same with me. I find that because companies and people have to turn things around so quickly, it becomes very cookie cutter in a lot of situations. And even when there's a plan, it's not planned out as well or nicely as it should have been. And what winds up happening is you get to the actual shoot, and it's like within 5 seconds, people are coming up to you. Hey, so when do you think you're gonna be set up? It's like, well, can I just like look around first? Can I just check the scene out and see what we got going on? And I don't know if it's a lack of understanding of the workload and stressors that we deal with as creatives, or if it's just people just want to get in and get out. But at some point, you kind of just throw your hands up and you go, all right, fine, whatever. Like, it is what it is. And you just bang through the shoot, you do your thing. And then you're back home editing and you're just like, wow, there was so much I wanted to do in that shoot that I wasn't able
Absolutely,
to.
yeah.
So I think going forward for myself, what I'm going to wind up doing more of is communicating to the client and communicating to the people that want me to do it. It's like, okay, well, listen, you brought me in for a reason. You brought me in because you want an amazing result, not only for your company, but on the money that you're investing into the shoot. So for me, I had these ideas, but we're not going to be able to just like bang through them. Like these are things that are going to take a little bit of couple of takes, a little bit of planning. Some of the ways that I speak to clients about stuff like this is, why do you think it takes a year to shoot a movie that's an hour and a half long?
Yeah.
But a campaign that you want out now, we shoot it in an hour and we're done.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't happen like that. We make it happen like that, but
And
it's
the
stressful.
editing too.
Well, the editing's very tough because you go back to the cookie cutter thing. Your deadlines become so tight to what you need to put out. You can't experiment and try other things because you're bound to screw up and have to go back. And then all of a sudden you look at the clock. It's like, oh God, I've been spending an hour on this rotoscope. Oh God. It's like, okay, I guess we're just gonna forget that effect that I was thinking of doing.
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah.
So it becomes tough. And when I first started out, which we really didn't touch on, which is totally fine. But basically, the way that I started my video journey and photo journey is I wanted to start a YouTube channel. Realistically, I wanted to do stuff like this. I wanted to sit with other people. I wanted to talk. I wanted to do more of a podcast before I even thought about doing a podcast. I had access to all of these professional bodybuilders and professional fitness influencers that were my friends. And I wanted to just have them maybe give answers and information to people that don't have the opportunity to see them every day like I do. They have to wait till they see them at an expo. You know, we're very blessed and fortunate to be able to have these people as friends. Think about it. We're friends with Juji Mufu,
Yeah.
Rob Kearney. Like, we're friends with these people. It's crazy. People wait at expos to shake their hand. We could shoot them a text right now and just say, hey, I was thinking of you. I hope you're great.
Dude, those lanes at the rain booth.
Crazy.
I mean, we're talking about lines that it's like, what, like, I don't know, people were there like for hours, right? Just to go shake their hands. Yeah.
Hours. And we have to remind ourselves of that and give back in certain ways. So I asked my father for a camera for Christmas. I just said, hey, Dad, he's like, I haven't gotten you anything for the last couple of years, this and that. What do you do you want anything? I said, actually, I'd love to get a camera. I said, in the A6300, I said, I'll buy the lens. I said, you could just buy the body for me if that's cool. He goes, done. Bought it for me. Started vlogging. Ex-girlfriend of mine said, hey, you could practice your editing. Make a video for me at the gym. Cool. Made a video for her. Arash Rabar, who's one of my homies. Arash goes, yo, can you make videos like that for me? Sure. Then my buddy Max Charles, and then the companies and GAT and everybody. And that's kind of how it snowballed into what I'm doing today. I fell into this. I never thought I would pick a camera up and it was going to be a career for me and be able to afford me the luxuries of having my apartment in Huntington Village and my BMW truck. You know what I'm saying? Like, these aren't things to show off. These are things to be proud of.
Yep,
that
100%.
The hard work you're putting in has allowed you to have these luxuries. I'm so fortunate. I was a retail kid, man. I thought I was going to work retail the rest of my life. So when I first started, I could take the time to do my projects. I could take the time to try new effects, to try new things out. Oh, I want my watermark to have a cool intro to the entire video. I want to do this. I want to do that. And you can try that. But once you start getting paid for gigs, there's a weird flip in your brain that you start thinking about the amount of time you're spending on a project. And you want to not only maximize your time, but you want to maximize the return for the client because they paid you. Now it's like, where's the edit? We got to get this content out. Like, oh, okay, I shot it and I edited it. But, after the shoot, half the job was done. For you guys, it was done. For me, it was only half. I still got to finish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'd argue it was a quarter of the job because the editing is the hardest part.
Yeah.
So in summarizing this, I feel like we have to communicate better as creatives to tell the clients and tell the people that we're working with on campaigns what our vision is. Because in retrospect, that's why they're coming to us. They're coming to us for our knowledge. They're coming to us for our vibes, our energy, everything. They want to understand and know what we're thinking for the project. And if we just are yes men, which I'm totally guilty of, Yes, 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 sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you're just trying to focus on even setting up the damn, that stupid gimbal. You're trying to focus on balancing that thing, and you're getting asked 50 questions, and you're just like, yep, sure, sure, sure. Let me just get this. Let me just get this done. We have to be better communicators. You just say, hey, just give me a few minutes. I have to finish setting up my gear, and then we can go down. If you have a shot list, I made some notes. This is what I was expecting. Let's combine, because when it comes down to it, it's a collaborative effort between yourself and the client, and it's not just me. It's not just them. We have to come together and create something amazing that can be showcased to whoever they're trying to showcase it to, and bring whatever they're trying to bring from it.
For sure. Yeah,
Sorry
I
if I
love.
ranted. Sorry if I
No, no,
ranted.
no. I 100% love it. I love the way that you said that you were not supposed to be a photographer and filmmaker. It just kind of like fell in your lap, because that's exactly what happened to me. Like the way, like my Instagram handle, if you see right there, it's Bound Media. It was never meant to be like a photography, filmmaker, anything. It was right when I finished my master's in business. I was like, hey, I'm gonna make my own business, and it's gonna be a social media agency, marketing type of deal, right? And that's how I got started. I got started like that, and then I was like, I always liked photography and videography. I had a camera, and I was like, I know that if I get better at this, I can create my own content for my clients, and that's just gonna be, it's gonna be an asset that other agencies don't have. They're gonna have to outsource, right? When you outsource extra money, you're paying the agency, you're paying the guy you're outsourcing. But what if I can do it all, in house? And that's how I started doing it. And then from there, kind of like, oh, I like that video. Can you make that for my business here? Boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom. And then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, I guess I'm a photographer and filmmaker, right?
Yeah. I guess I'm buying a
I
lot of
guess,
I guess I'm
I
buying a
guess,
lot
yeah.
of gear, and I'm stuck on B&H's page, and I'm sweating every time I hit checkout. Yeah, damn it.
Yeah, so it just snowballed into that, which, I mean, awesome. Like, I'm grateful that that's the way it happened, and it kind of threw some people off. Like, people haven't, I started in 2018 full time, so people didn't talk to, I don't know, for years, from, I don't know, 16 through 19, and then they see me, doing photos and videos. They're like, wait a second, are you a videographer now? Like, since when? So, but I love it, man. I mean, that's the way it goes. In our industry, a lot of people, that's the way it happens. They just found a camera at their parents' like bedroom. Oh, sure, let me take this camera and take some photos, and then you post one photo on Instagram. Then one of your friends like, hey, can you take some photos of me and my fiance?
Sure.
And then from there, you know, it
It's it,
might
it
become a
it's
business.
a very interesting way that this business scales, and I'm looking at a lot of the new, and I know you are as well. I'm looking at a lot of the new AI stuff that's coming out in our industry,
Yeah,
and I hate using it because it's such a buzzword now, and everybody acts like AI. Every video, it's like it's AI. It's like, okay, we get it. Artificial intelligence, we get it. It's an algorithm that has some type of semblance of going back and forth and being able to figure things out versus just a binary situation. Um, I'm looking at the advancements in that, and I'm trying to figure out where our industry is going to go. And I know a lot of creatives.
I've been thinking about that too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, man. You start looking at these things chop up videos and you go, "Oh, that's
Uh-huh.
interesting." And I think for the clients that actually care about campaigns and that put the effort and the money and the heart and soul into it, that's something that AI and those automated video cutters, CapCut and all this shit, you'll never be able to do. They'll never be able to put the heart and soul into it where you can actually have invoke that emotion. Do I think they'll be able
True.
to make great content? Without question. It's already been proven. Rappers, they're doing AI, Drake stuff. It's crazy. It's very crazy how that's going to be going, and the shift in the next 5 to 10 years of what it is. But we also have the other half of our industry who's going to shoot it for you.
Mm.
We understand all the mechanics. We
Yeah.
understand the lenses and setting scenes up and lighting and this and that. So AI is going to definitely compartmentalize one section of our industry. And I think that it's going to make a lot of things that were monotonous for us much easier.
True.
So, embracing certain things and learning, being a student, how can I use this to better my time for my clients and myself? Because
Mm.
then we go back to the work-life balance thing that we had kind of briefly touched on in the beginning. Work-life balance is so important, and just not being a slave to the process, not being the yes man always. You have to look after yourself, because it's amazing that we have all these clients and it's amazing that you work with these large brands. But if you get sick, it's going to happen. Think they're just going to wait for you? No, you have to take care of yourself. You have to be the number one priority. So for years, I've allowed my shoots, my clients, to dictate how my life is run. Now, if there's a shoot on a day that I have a family party, or like I left for Germany on Easter, I went to my aunt's house, I spent some time there, and then I went right to the airport. There's a balance factor in that where you're able to do that and not just shut one or the other out. But in terms of health, tracking your macros, being held accountable, that's been huge for me, because we allow these things to just get in our way. And then it's like, oh, I've been editing all day. I don't really feel like going to the gym, or
Yeah.
I'll just get a slice of pizza, whatever. It's like, no, man, you have to stay dedicated, because that's going to bleed over into your work as well.
100%. Your
When
mental
you're,
health too is so
oh,
important.
dude, and it deteriorates very quickly when you're constantly around in a competitive environment. You know,
Traveling a lot.
I see WOD Lens had commented. He said, when you get a lot of photographers at an event working together, it's such a good vibe. And it is, until it's not. Until you get that dude or those people that aren't there to be friends, and they're not a good influence around others, and they're there to try to take your job and bring that negativity there. That can affect your mental state if you're not in a good place going into it. I have people like that all the time. You kidding me? I wave to them. Cool. What's up, man? Keep walking. Taking care of the side of fitness, mental, body, spirituality, whatever you want to do, keeping yourself grounded and centered is huge. I wake up at 4:45 every day now. I used to never do that. But for me, it sets my day off on a much better path. I wake up at 4:45. I get to my table, courtesy of Bedros Keuilian and his morning routine. I rip some stuff from him. I have to credit the man that gave me the ideas. I send out 1 to 2 gratitude texts to somebody or something that inspires me. It could be my mom. It could be you. It could be anybody. Hey, I see you working hard. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Hey, thank you for always loving me and giving me a warm home to be a part of and supporting my dreams. I send out 1 to 2 gratitude texts to people. I try to change it up all the time. I journal, and I go right out the door to the gym.
Man,
and I train my ass off.
That's beautiful. You know how much it means to some people when you send that text? Like, I've sent texts like that, like random. Like, I'm telling you, like I'm just chilling. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna text my buddy, I don't know, Steven. I haven't talked to him in a while. Grab my phone, send him, hey, you're a beautiful human being, dude. I love you and hope to see you soon. I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while.
That's all it
Dude.
takes. Grinning.
And then
they cheek, man.
Yeah, and then they send you a message back like, dude, you have no idea how much I needed this text. I'm going through some shit right now, and that text you sent me just made me, made the rest of my day. They're like, thank you so much. And it was just random, right? Like, why can't we do stuff like that? Like, same thing, just randomly text somebody and just let them know that, you appreciate them.
It's because most people don't live in a state of gratitude. And I'd be lying if I said I was always in this state. I haven't been. It takes time to, just like a skill, it takes time to learn these things and make them a discipline in your life every single day. I'm all my boys, all my close boys, like my close knit boys. Every time I get off the phone with them, yo, I love you. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
And like people that don't know me like that, or girls that start hanging out with me and they're like, who are you talking to? Like talking to Tyler, talking to Barra, talking to my boys. Like what? Oh, yeah. Because who knows if that's the last thing I say to them for either of us.
Yeah.
And I want them to know, yo, I love you. I appreciate you, bro. That's it, man. It's just showing love to your common man, being appreciative of the people that are around you, being grateful of the opportunities that present themselves. There are a lot of people in this country and in this world that are in some really shitty, unfortunate situations, that are in bad environments, around negative, nasty, bad people and influences in their life. And who am I to sit here and not be appreciative of the life that I was born into, but have also built up for myself? Because I could have sat there and been a victim of certain situations in my life, but I chose to be grateful of the lessons that I've learned and do exactly that, learn from them.
Hmm.
Be able to learn and move on and not make that same mistake again. Because mistakes and lessons in life, and maybe you can attest to this, but lessons in life will consistently present themselves over and over and over until you learn. And if you never learn, you're going to keep making the same mistake. As Matthew McConaughey says, you'll keep stepping in shit. You won't be able to, you walk in circles and you keep stepping in that same pile of shit. But you have to be aware of where that is so we don't step in it again. It's the same thing in
100%,
life.
dude. Yeah, honestly, and I feel a lot connected to myself too since I've been doing a lot of similar stuff that you do, just kind of like writing down things that I'm grateful for, things I want in my life, things that I want to attract in my life, and it's very new for me, right? Like I remember me thinking about like, oh, like how dumb people like journal about like their day, their life years ago, right? It's just me being literally ignorant about
Me too.
you know the benefits and like how good you can feel, how connected you can feel to your work, to your personal life, to your friends. Makes you realize the circle that you have around you. It makes you a lot more thankful, grateful, blessed, whatever the way you want to call it, around the things that you have, right? And it's just it works, man. It makes you appreciate the little things a lot more too.
And life is about the little things. Life is about the small experiences. The
Yeah,
big grandiose experiences like getting married, landing a big client, stuff like that. They're great, but they're short-lived. The little ones, these little successes, these little wins all day, every day that you build up into a discipline, into a life foundation that you'll eventually give to your kids or that you'll eventually instill in others and inspire others to be the same way. Those are the real wins.
yeah.
Like those big ones are cool, but the little wins and these little experiences and these little, listen, you went to Hawaii for dark sport, right?
Hmm. Yep.
I mean, did you get to just stand there for a second and just,
Yeah.
oh, where am I?
Yeah,
Crazy.
there was a spot that there was a part of the shoot like when we were done that we were all at the mountain we hiked, and Franciel, you know Franciel Matos, right? She's the three-time Olympian
Yes,
wellness.
yes,
Franciel, she like the shoot is done, and then you see her, she's like walking by herself for like a second, and then she like looks up and starts like praying and crying, like literally bawling her eyes out. Just, I mean, we're talking about the best wellness probably in the history of the sport, and she's right there just being like fully vulnerable, like so grateful of the moment that's happening. She starts crying. People like around her just kind of feeling that energy. It's just kind of like we all start appreciating like, this moment that we have right here, like the opportunities that we get to do stuff like this, to spend time with like-minded people that love the same thing that we do. It just kind of, dude, it was a special moment. It
and it's gonna
really,
be and it's gonna be a memory. That's
for,
the
yeah.
biggest thing that you have to instill in yourself and others,
Mm,
dude. When we started this podcast 53 minutes ago, that's a memory already.
yeah.
We're already 53 minutes in. We're already in the future of what we were thinking about back then. Like we're thinking about the work that we got to get done on top of everything that we got to do today. And if you didn't hit the gym already, you're like, I'll probably hit it later, or I got to get my next meal in, this and that. Like that's in the future, but
Yeah.
we're already in the future from what we thought an hour ago. So one of the big life lessons I try to give my buddies is I'll shrink this long story down. One of my buddies purchased a boat in 2019. Purchased a boat on that summer. It was me and 5 of the other boys, and we were just having a ball all summer, ripping around the Long Island Sound, South Shore, and the Sound, having a blast, drinking. Just it was one of those picturesque summers. Every weekend we went out on the boat 2 days. We're jumping into the bay one day, and I said to everybody, why don't you just take it? I said, everybody just be quiet for a second, turn the music off. And we're just all sitting in the bay in the South Shore of Long Island. And everyone just goes, what's up, Nick? What's up? I said, remember this because it may never be the same again. And the sun is setting and we had a ball. It's Fire Island, it's called, for Long Island. It's an island on the South Shore where a lot of people go to party on the summer. I said we were at Fire Island all day. We've had good tunes, good vibrations, good energy. Like just remember this because it's going to be a memory tomorrow. I still get hit up from the boys every couple of days because what happened? COVID happened a year later, not even 8 months later, 7 months later. The world shut down. Nobody was doing anything, this and that. Then my buddy that had the boat, he got linked up with his girl, and they had a kid like 2 years later. So now we're not doing the boat trips anymore. He's a responsible dad now.
Yeah.
So you have to do exactly that, what she was doing on the side of the mountain at the end of the shoot. You have to be able to just put your fingers in the grass. If you're in a field, put your fingers in the grass and just feel the dirt in your fingernails and just take a big breath and just, oh man, this is amazing that I'm able to experience these things in this life when people, what is it? 90% of people in, obviously Hawaii's in the US, but 90% of people in the US don't have a passport. What? That's crazy. 90% of the people won't travel outside of the States and experience the world that's beyond our borders. Crazy, man.
Yeah. And honestly, some of the best conversations I've had, it's since I started doing what we were talking about, just being more spiritual, more, connected to yourself. Dude, the best conversations I've had with my friends it's about that, like stuff that, like last night I was talking to one of my good friends and we're just started to talk about like the same thing. And he's like, oh dude, I didn't know you're also like doing the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I started not too long ago. We're talking about like the benefits stuff, dude. We talked for like an hour. It felt like 10 minutes. We're just talking about like just exchanging, like uh I mean things that have happened, like things that we've talked about, like attracting, and like some of the people that I like listening to podcasts about. He was like recommending me books, stuff like that. And even like I just have on top of my mind right now, like when I travel not too long ago, I traveled to Arizona and I met some people. I mean, first day I met them ever in my life. And we were on a table. It was at my friend's house. And dude, we had such a great conversation. Like we've known each other for years. And it was just, dude, us talking about life and just being grateful about the little things and how life just works out if if you have that mindset. It's like how you can create your life with your mind, with your energy, with your vibes, with the people you have around. And dude, fuck, it's incredible. It really is like a it sounds weird to say, but it's like a life-changing like moment in my life when the moment I'm like, okay, I'm actually gonna work on myself, on teaching myself things, on investing, on being more connected to what's happening around me instead of just waking up every morning and just doing what's next to do. Oh, I have a shoot at 9 a.m. Okay, shoot at
Yeah,
9
let me
a.m.
let me let me lay down until I
Let me
go to
lay
the
down.
shoot.
Yeah. Come back. What's now? Workout at 4. Okay, I'm gonna wait until 4. Right. It's
Yeah.
just little things that you can do throughout your day. That's gonna be a lot more beneficial than any shoot you're gonna be doing.
And how distracting is the technology that we put content out on? How distracting are the platforms for us as well? Not
Mm.
only is it just a time suck of just a doom scroll loop of just sitting there with your finger just swiping and swiping, but it actually fucks you up mentally because it's great to aspire and look at other creators in our situations and maybe people that are even above us and just look at what they're doing. But you start comparing yourself. Every piece of content, dude, my whole Reels page is content creators. So of course you sit there and you start looking, you're like, oh shit, that's a pretty good video, man. Oh, and then what I do is I'll screen record, and then I'll watch it in slow motion. I'll be like, oh, that's how he did that. Okay. That's how he pushed in at that point. Because, the little nuances of watching a reel 500 times, you don't get it.
Yeah.
So, but now I'm comparing myself.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I don't want to do. And now I'm sitting here in a funk. I'm like, damn, I could shoot like that, right? You start like thinking about it. You're like, oh, dude, I'm overthinking. You got to stop. You're overthinking.
Yeah.
My wallpaper that right now? Nah, my wallpaper's changed throughout the day. So right now it's no one cares. But I have one that says overthinking slows you down.
Yeah.
So, coming up with the things that you need to do in a day and staying on a routine. Content, what I have on before we started the podcast. I had on, who was back there? Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey just did The Art of Living seminar a couple days ago. I attended it. I took notes. Amazing. His book Green Lights is phenomenal. talks about his whole life, everything that he's gone through. Pretty crazy. But now he's on that almost like enlightened path of just figuring out who he is at this point in his life, because he's constantly done that. The fame has gotten to him. He's left the States. He's gone done something else to refigure out who he is. Then he comes back. Then he goes back. So now he lives in Texas. He moved out of Hollywood totally. He lives in Texas, and he's doing stuff like this now. Very motivational, very find yourself, empowering. The stuff that the content that we need, that's the content that we really need to be consuming. Not the latest episode of Game of Thrones, not Love Island, all this bullshit. It's all crap at the end of the day. It's all ways for ad companies and agencies. Now, it's kind of like a devil's advocate type of situation, because we work for a lot of these companies that are trying to grab people's attention. So it's like, okay, I get it. But if we're mindful of the content that we're consuming, and we're only consuming things that are beneficial to us, we don't get stuck in that loop. I'll put videos out. People go all the time like, oh, you don't watch my story. You don't watch my story. It's like, I post shit. And like, if someone's story is like right at the top of my thing, I'll watch a couple and then I'll stop. I have time limits on all my apps now. I can't get stuck in that doom scroll, because it's so easy to fall into that. And then an hour goes by, and then 2 hours.
True.
So what I want to talk about real quick on this topic of schedules and bettering yourself is I'm starting that mastermind group. So that first mastermind group is just for like regular professionals, this and that. But I'm also going to start one for creators. I really want to get a bunch of creators like us that are on the same page, that are not there to be assholes to each other, that are not there to not be supportive, but maybe be critical of one another and say, hey, this is something that I'm working on. What do you guys think? Can I get some feedback? And be willing to give real feedback. Not slice you down and oh, it's shit and this and that. We need a community. We really do. We need a community of like-minded individuals, because that's not only an amazing networking opportunity, but it's a way to push us to that next level and consistently grow, and then with one another. Like I keep saying, there's more than enough work for everybody. Imagine if I'm working on a large project, I go, oh shit, man, my boy Bound Media, I need him right now. I need him to come out and help me out on this shoot, or vice versa, because we've established that relationship. We know what we're capable of,
100%.
and we understand that we're on that like-minded path, because I don't want to work with people that I can't trust. Mm-hmm. So the mastermind group is meant to continually excel everybody and keep everybody in track. How's your water intake? How's your food? These are all things that add up to that mental and work ethic.
Yeah, and that creators don't really talk about, right?
No, because we just sit there for hours. We mindlessly don't even realize that 4 or 5 hours have gone by. We're sitting there just like your back starts to hurt. You start shifting a little bit. Your ass is numb, and you start like trying to figure things out. And it's just like you look up, you're like, holy shit, I've been doing this for 5 hours. And you get up and you stretch, and like that's the most that you do. And it's like when it comes time to do the gym or track your food, like we said before, I'll just have a piece of pizza. Fuck it. I'll go to the gym tomorrow. It's like, no, man, you got to get that shit in now. So my schedule, like I said, 4:45 a.m., wake up, I drink water. I sit at the table, gratitude text, journal. How am I feeling? What do I got going on for work? This and that. Out the door, train. I come back. I take care of puppy. He needs his medicine at every 12 hours. So he needs his medicine at 8 a.m., 8 p.m. So I come back, give him his pill. That's it, man. Hardest part of the day is done. I worked out. I've gotten my breakfast in. I've gotten my vitamins and my water. And now I am able to focus on the work that I need to do for the next however many hours. I go to bed at like 9:30 now, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm usually lights out. And then I'm up the next day, and I'm excited to wake up. I haven't been like that in years, to lay there and wake up at 4 a.m. and you're just like, well, fuck, I'm wide awake. I might as well get started now.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited to get to the gym. I'm excited to go train.
That's such a good feeling when you wake up in the morning like that.
Yeah.
Like so much energy. That's something I need to work on. I sometimes work until too late and then end up waking up at 9 a.m.
And that's the work-life balance, though.
Yeah.
That's the work-life balance. I used to edit around the fucking clock.
Yeah.
I used to, yes, man, whatever I can do. Can you get this edit done by tomorrow? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Yes, I'll get it done. And then you're miserable because your
True.
schedule is screwed and you're tired and you're not doing your best work.
Yeah.
So if you work within those hours that you set for yourself every single day, this is my time that I get my edits done, that I do my banking and my bookkeeping, that I order new gear, that I try out new things. Whatever it is that you have to do, if this is my time slot to do that, I'm going to stick to that. I'm not going to let anybody derail me from it. I put my phone on calls only. You could tweak the notifications on do not disturb. You can make it so that this way there's no social media notifications, that there's no other notification that you'll get except for phone calls.
Mm.
Do that. Take your time back. Don't allow people to manipulate your emotions and your time. Someone calls me and they stress me out on my phone. You know what I say to them? You're going to stress me out. I pay the bill and you're going to stress me out on my phone? It's not going to happen. I'll talk to you later. I don't do that. So, mastering that. Like I used to edit all weekend. I used to edit Friday night until Sunday night, until 3 in the morning. Insane. Not anymore. I don't edit on the weekends. Some people may look at that as bad or lazy or whatever it is. Will I maybe get a couple of little things done here and there? Without question. Photo edit, stuff like that. If I really got nothing going on and I want to just be able to just bang out a little extra work, I'll do it. But for the most part, I need downtime.
Mm.
I need me time.
For
Walk
sure.
my dog, hang out with him, spend time with family. Years are going by. I don't know your relationship with your family and who is around, who isn't around. But like for me, my mother's getting older. Every month that goes by, I mean, obviously it's every hour that goes by, but every month that goes by, I just go, wow, mom's, we're all getting older. I'm creeping
Yep.
up on 32 now. Mom's gonna be 66. She's gonna kill me if she ever sees that. Um, but we have limited time, and it's
Yeah.
great to make money. It's great to do all these things with these amazing agencies and people. But at the end of the day, we also have to cherish our own time because no one is going to harbor that our own time, health, wealth better than ourselves.
100%.
Sorry.
No, that's it. I freaking
It's
love that. Let's talk on the topic. You were talking about the always saying yes, right? And let's go back to what I mentioned at the beginning, like that you realize what's your worth, and like you put a stop on like just saying yes to everything and like to every rate people will throw at you, and you set a standard for yourself. Hey, if you want to hire me, these are my rates, and if you're not willing to pay it, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your time and for reaching out to me,
Yep.
but I'm not gonna do it. And I think that's something very important that every creator goes through, right? Like every creator goes through a point that you want to say yes to everything, that you want to get every job you can. And at the end of the day, you're just like killing yourself, you're burning out. And then you hit that point that you're like, what am I going to do now? Like all my clients are expecting me to do this job for 300 bucks, but I know it's,
stressful.
yeah, yeah.
It's
And
stressful.
going back to quick story that
Yeah.
before you touch on that topic, um, I was somewhere. I'm not gonna say the name. He said,
Nah.
"Yeah,
Don't give it no credit. You good.
yeah," and he was saying, "Oh man, Nick Rizzles is my man. Every time I need something, I call Nick Rizzles. He's my man. You know, like he's my number one choice. But motherfucker is expensive. But he's fire. Like he was fire shit. That's what he said. He's like,
I know who I know who
and
it was.
yeah, yeah, and he's like, and he said." I was like, I was listening. And I'm like, I'm loving every second of this. And he's like, but I get it because he knows what he's gonna create, and he's not gonna, pretty much the same thing that I'm telling you. You know what you're gonna get if you hire Nick Rizzles, and the client gets it. And I love that. I love that a client said, "Oh, I can always hire him because he's expensive, but I know why."
Yeah.
Dude, I was like, I wish everybody would be just like this client. Like he understands the value, and he appreciates also the skills, your time, everything.
It's a tough balance. Chad just said it perfectly as well. If you want to highlight that comment, that's perfect, man. Um, it's tough
for
because
people for people not looking, Chad Miller just said it's all in stages. A period is spent saying yes, and a period is saying no.
yep, yep. Uh, we all get to that point because we're burnt out, tired from just saying yes to everybody. And then we overload ourselves with, let's say, $500 jobs. We're overloading ourselves with $500 jobs. We're not able to do anything else because we have 10 $500 jobs a month. And they expect and need so much of us that it's so far beyond the $500
Yep.
than it's worth. It can be cyclical, especially in the beginning, like Chad said. You know that you should be charging more, and a lot of creatives don't charge their worth. Because I try to convey the message of, we are the cinematographer, and it's a very overly used word, and I try so hard not to use video, like the cinematographer, videographer. Like, we are the video production side, and that covers shooting, editing, lighting, audio and sound design, drone work,
Creating the story sometimes.
stills, storyboarding, content conceptualization, the meetings with the client, expectations. We are the billing department. We are everything within this little realm of, oh yeah, Nick's a videographer. And there's so much on our shoulders that these jobs used to be spread out between a specialty in each one. And obviously times change, just like we're going through the AI stuff now. Times change and things are better compartmentalized, where one job can be done by 2 or 3. But that also doesn't mean that that one job can get paid for the one job instead of the 2 or 3. You don't gotta bill it out like you would for every specialty, but I can't charge a nominal rate. Yeah. My dog needs food. I need food. I gotta buy more gear. Y'all like the look of that lens, right? I gotta get a couple more of that. I dropped it. I broke it. Like, there's things that happen that we need to be able to pay for. Yeah. And obviously, as you continue your career and you become more skillful and you do things faster with more efficiency, you should be compensated for that as well. Just because I finish a job faster doesn't mean that I should be paid less for it. It means that I've harbored the ability to do this at a successful rate. And there's a lot of people that talk about that. Somebody that's an amazing resource that I've used over the years, and I'm sure any creatives that watch this or are in the chat currently, Chris Do. Chris Do is a phenomenal resource when it comes to negotiating with clients and speaking to people about these types of things. He's got e-learnings. He's got little presentation kits that you could buy from him. Phenomenal resource for people in the creative field. But at some point, those $500 jobs aren't worth it anymore. And that anxiety point and stress that you get from saying no is going to happen. It's going to happen. You're going to be, I just gave up $1,000 for those 2 clients that were $500. Yeah, but you have to look at it like this. That $1,000 that you would have spent, that you would have gained from those 2 clients, you would have spent $5,000 with the amount of revisions and extra edits that they needed. And, I just need a thumbnail for the YouTube video as well. And going outside of the original scope of work, because the smaller clients usually do. Yep. That's happened to me on Long Island in certain areas. And I'm okay with it. There's a lot of people on Long Island that I used to work with and different companies that they can't pay my rate. And it's totally fine. I'm not offended by it. If you bring somebody else in that's going to do the lower and cheaper rate, that's fine. But they're going to hit that same wall at some point as well. And I try to convey that message to them. It's like, yo, I'm not in competition with you. This is not like I'm trying to get my clients back, anything like that. I just want you to understand that, like, I'm on your team. I'm rooting for you, because the rates that you're setting at this exceptionally low price affect all of us. The videographers that charge $100 for a video, or the cinematographers, whatever you want to call them, they charge $100 for a video. That looks like the standard to all your clients in that radius.
Affects the whole industry.
And then you're sitting there like, $100. What?
Yeah.
Bro, you're shooting a whole campaign. But what are you talking about? $100. A photo shoot from an average photographer is it could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000. Why would you charge less for a video shoot that's 10 times the work?
Yeah.
So we all go through it. It affects everybody at some point. But taking that step and being proactive and saying, hey, I know that this was our rate. at this point, we can't do that anymore. There's new gear costs. I have more clients, this and that, and just the rates are changing. It has to. Just like eggs are almost $10 for 12. You think the chickens are? What do you think happened to the chickens? They're doing the same work, but they're changing their rate. So it's just, you have to take that first step. You have to take that first deep breath, and it is scary. I want to convey that over and over again to the creators that haven't done that yet. It's scary. It's scary to tell a client, yeah, I can't do that for this anymore. And you're going to lose clients. But in return,
you're going to get the best clients.
It's so weird how that works. In
Always.
return, you get higher paying clients and better ones.
Better. I mean, the higher end clients usually are the ones that really, I mean, if they're willing to pay your rates, in advance that they already really appreciate the work that you can do, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, gosh, it's always like that. I mean, back when I was doing a lot of weddings, the moment I started charging a premium for my weddings, I was like, I think I'm really good at what I do. I see people charging the same I was charging, and I can tell I do a better work. I'm gonna start charging premium. That's when the level of like brides started getting a lot better and a lot more like, oh, I love what you do. Yeah, do your thing. That's why we hire you. Yeah. Whenever I was charging when I first got started, gosh, dude, like everything was just tough. Same with the clients, and like social media clients, everything. Same thing. Yeah. Like when I first got started and like people not paying the normal rates that I wanted to charge to, those clients were always a pain in the ass.
Oh, did you send that invoice? Yeah. Oh my God. Let me go check now. And then 3 days go by and the invoice hasn't been paid.
And like you said, it's weird how it works. You lose 2 clients like that. You're like, gosh, what am I going to do now? And then you get a big client.
You're sweating for that $1,000 client. The 2 clients that would net you $1,000. You're sweating. Like, oh, they promised me that they were going to get me bigger jobs. Like all I had to do was prove myself on these, and proving yourself on those wound up being a year of you being a slave to them. Yeah. And it's just like, yo. And then you finally get rid of it and you're like, oh my God, I just gave up $1,000 a month. What am I going to do? And then all of a sudden a client comes along that's got, hey, that's going to be priced at $3,000 or $4,000 a month. And they go, okay. Like, what? Oh, for that? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So pretty much just gotta know your worth and be confident about your work. If you know you do good work, hey, just if you wanna pay my rates, if you feel comfortable doing that, you know what you're gonna get. And if not, like, hopefully we get to work in the future. Thank you so much for your time. But that's the way I've been operating lately. You just gotta, once you say your standard, you can't.
No, you have to hold. There are things in life that a lot of the motivational speakers and top level entrepreneurs, they all speak about non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables? Things that you will not accept under any circumstance. That could be relationships, business partners, or it could be business as well. If there's a certain type of client that you will not accept, no matter what, and there are some for me, I will not accept it. It's a non-negotiable for me, and I don't want to be involved with that. You have to hold these standards for yourself. Yep. Otherwise, you'll get walked on in this industry and in any industry.
Absolutely. Dude, Nicky, thank you so much, dude.
I appreciate
been on for 1 hour and 18 minutes.
Goes quick.
Yeah, goes quick. But hey, like if we cut it now, like there's always a time to go for a episode 2, like Nicky Rizzles episode, like second part of the pod. But dude, hey, thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man. We've been talking about doing this for a couple of weeks, so I'm glad that it worked out. Before we cut it, what's next for Nicky Rizzles?
Oh man, just getting leaner, continuing to stay in a positive mental space, watching out for my boy Kenji over there. For those that don't know, my pup's got epilepsy, so he's good. He's on medicine. We do everything that we can to just keep him comfortable. They're very spread out, so it's not something that's like it's so scary and concerning that it's right now. But we do the things that we have to do. I enjoy every moment I have with him, no matter what. I bring him on a lot of walks. I bring him to the office all the time, and just giving back in certain ways. That mastermind group that I'm going to create for the creatives, that's huge, and I really got to get that up and running in the next month. That's my next goal. Okay. Is I want to get that up and running because we need a community to help one another, to be able to go in there and just be like, yo, I got to ask my client for more money. What do you guys think? Like, how should I go about this? Being able to spitball these ideas and feel comfortable that your toes aren't going to get stepped on by people inside this room. This is a free speaking, we're all here for each other group. This is not a negative environment. And a lot of times, you ask your friends for advice on your business, or you ask your family, and they don't get what we do. They really don't. They don't understand what we go through. They don't understand the stressors. When I had Josh Wiseman on Rizzology, we talked about a lot of pain points of our industry. And I try to make it so it's not us bitching, because I don't want it to sound like I'm ungrateful. But we go through so much stress that having peers that are similar in the things and experiences that they go through it's invaluable. It's like invaluable. It's so impactful to us that it needs to happen.
Absolutely.
So that's next for me. And then I just got projects here and there. I'm always working on new stuff. I think I'm shooting the entire New York Pro for MD. I don't know yet. Just
Cool.
little things. We'll see what happens. Unless I get paperwork signed and everything's good, it's all in the air.
Yeah. Dude, but seriously, I really appreciate your time and all the, valuable content that you share with us. I feel like this one of those episodes that I hope like a lot of people get to watch, and they, get to learn from somebody like you that, it's been around for a while. You've had your moments where, like learning lessons, right? And to the point that you're pretty well established, and you now, like you said, it's almost like giving back to our creators that hopefully they get to watch this, they get to learn something from it. And I really appreciate your time, dude. I think you're super insightful dude that has a lot of knowledge that you are doing the best you can to like spread that, right? Spread that positive vibes around. So appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, bro. For real. Your time as well. You're a busy man. You're doing amazing things. And when we can come together and we can give back to the community. I appreciate you, Brian. I appreciate you. Is that workout of the day lens? Is that what that is? WOD?
Okay, so what is it's a CrossFit term.
Okay, yeah, workout of the day, right?
Yeah, workout of the day.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. It's not my space, so I'm trying to be cool.
Yeah, that is
I appreciate everybody that commented and that is going to listen to this. If you guys have any questions for me, don't hesitate. Let me know. And then as we do more and more stuff, hopefully we could just keep creating some impactful stuff and content.
There he goes, Nick Rizzles. If you want to follow him at Nick Rizzles, as I mentioned earlier, make sure you listen to his podcast. He has awesome people all the time. They talk about anything from life lessons, from fitness. It's a pretty well like diverse workout podcast. Like you guys talk about like a lot of different things. You don't have like one specific topic. Love this. So anywhere else they can find you?
No, that's the main ones. Just Instagram, YouTube. I got the full episodes on YouTube, and Instagram's the easiest way to shoot me DMs and network and chop it up a little bit.
Yep. Everybody that's been on the chat, thank you so much. Everybody listening, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like episodes like this. Follow Nick Rizzles, and if you like this episode, go ahead and hit him on the DMs. Send him a DM saying that you listened to it, and maybe talk about what was the thing that you like, the most valuable lesson you learned out of the episode.
For sure. And any feedback. I'm always open to it.
Yeah. And Nicky, if you do that, the creators mastermind group, you're gonna post it on your page, right?
I will definitely be doing it, and I will definitely be posting it on my page. And we can spread out the awareness like that as well.
I know a reason why you gotta follow Nicky. All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
Peace.